So today we're going to be looking at messages from your guardian angels. So the first thing that I'm getting, I'm seeing, I like a change of course, change of action. So actually, so this is an example. So I was just looking outside my window and I had replanted some of my like big plants, and so I gave them a little bit more fertilizer, and I didn't water it in. I just, because it was going to rain later, so I just left it in there. And now I'm noticing that they're having fertilizer burn. So what I can do, because it's like granules, I can go out there and I can take the some of those grains out and see if I can save the plant, right? So it's this feeling of I don't know if it's necessarily overnourishing, or it's like doing something in excess one way and then seeing the negative effects of that, and so now you're going up and taking that out, right? And so it's like planting new seeds, planting new opportunities, plant a change of course, kind of, but it's not a completely new direction, right? It's still, like for my example, it's like it's still the same plant. I'm just going in there and fixing something that I feel I may have done a little bit wrong. Like I need to go apologize to the plant, right? So it's kind of like this feeling of like apologizing to yourself or apologizing to another person, righting your wrongs of something that has a poor harvest, right? And I'm feeling like there's a lot of information coming through. It's this feeling of like coming into this deeper understanding of how to do what it is that you want to do, right? So if we go back to the example of the plant, it's like, now I know better, right? It's like, okay, well, I didn't think that was going to be that big of a deal because I never burned any of my plants before. So I got a little bit lazy with it, right? And so, I mean, not really, I guess that's not the right I wasn't being lazy. It's just, I just didn't think, because I had never messed up with that just a couple little differences would make an issue, right? And so, like, but the response from the plant is major, right? It's a huge plant. And so these small little detrimental things do have effect, right? And so this feeling of going back and being like, okay, I know what I wanted to do. I know what my intention was. I knew what I was doing, but now I know I need to actually do it right, like completely right. Like I need to be more concise, or there's even this feeling of predictability. Like I need to follow that code of predictability when it comes to something. I can't really just I can't really deviate too far from that, right? Because it's this feeling like go back to the example of my plant, like there are different modes of deviation, right? I just moved the plant a little bit away from where it was. I could, in the way I could deviate, is move it completely into another corner of my yard, right? But that would be okay because it's the way that I want to design the landscaping, and I could just have fertilized it and planted it properly and it would be fine, right? And watered it in immediately, right? The way that I deviated is in a way that obviously is causing ill effects on it. So that's where I'm trying to kind of be specific as far as what Spirit's trying to communicate is deviation. There's one thing with freedom of expression and the way that you present yourself, or the way that you express yourself or whatever, but there's also this kind of code of how to do it that follows a certain pattern. It's like this linear pattern is what I'm saying, that you know that you should maintain. Otherwise, what comes of it is going to be a poor harvest. And so there is that chance, that opportunity that you can catch it now. You can go back and you can take out what is incorrect and fix it and move forward from that and not do that again. But if you ignore it, you let it be, then there's the potential that it's not going to work out at all. It's not going to work out the way that it's supposed to, right? With the plant, it's like now I'm just leaving it up to the forces. Like, is the plant going to survive even though I know I did something wrong? And it's just like, well, I'll just let it deal with it, or am I going to do something that I know I can do to help it out, right? And so I might have to put a little bit of extra effort into it, but it's whatever I prioritize. And there is this feeling here between destiny, I guess. It's this feeling of like this destined thing, and then, you know, like fate, like this feeling like for this to become, you have to be, and in order to be, you have to believe and live in who you feel you have become, right? So perceiving yourself as your future, understanding that that future is in the realm of possibility, but in order to be that future individual, you have to conduct yourself as that future individual. So that future outcome is potentially, well, in this scenario, in what I'm picking up right now, is a it's up to free will to a degree. So in order for that person of that frequency, of that vibration, of that ideation that you have to embody and create that. It's like this, I'm seeing like it looks like an illuminated vessel, like it's in like a pill shape, and it's kind of like on Avatar when they go in those little tubes, but it's like up and down, right? It's not like laying down, and it's just feeling like you have to see yourself as inside that vessel, and that can change, right? It's like when I talked about in some of these other videos of like taking that highest timeline, right? You have multiple timelines, and this is speaking in general terms, because each individual, it just really depends on like your own soul's pattern. But it also goes something much deeper and bigger than that, of course, when it comes to like God, and if everything really is just kind of destined to become, and your choices are really not necessarily a choice. But anyway, not to like really get too much into it, because in this particular, and I just saw, hold on, I actually have one. Let me go grab it, because I know where it's at. I don't really know what this is, but maybe someone out there knows. And actually, this is kind of like this is some shell or something, I think. I just saw this, so this is coming up very strongly. So this is significant here. This is a significant sign here. And they're showing me like this, they're showing me the pattern of how this came into my ownership. So I have a bunch of stones, polished stones, including this, that this individual made. She made this, and she actually, like a good friend of hers, had passed away, and he had tons and tons of different stones that were unpolished, and he had the little tumbler. So it's like they're tumbled stones, not I don't know if that's interchangeable words, but anyway, so she took it upon herself to tumble all the stones, and she actually turned a bunch to powder because she didn't know that they were too soft. So anyway, she started tumbling a bunch of them, and then she was like, well, I don't know, I was just doing it for fun. Then she sold them all, right? And so then my friend knows that I'm like into this kind of stuff, so they were like, oh, well, maybe she would appreciate these things, so they bought it, and then it ended up in my possession. So that's why I have this, right? And they're showing me all of this again in a linear fashion of to the person who had passed away all the way up to me, and how every decision, like you just see like how every single decision leads to some outcome, right? It's like just minor things. Like the person before they passed away, they could have thrown it away, they could have sold it, they could have tumbled it themselves, or the woman who was tumbling it, like she could have just not been their friend. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like every single little detail. And look at that in terms of yourself, of like every little single detail that you do and how that may change the course of your future, right? And so vibrating at your highest timeline, what does that look like for you? And maintaining that energy of vibrating at your highest timeline, because you have the potential to deviate if you so choose to do so, right? And then they're stopping me with that because there is some people in here that they want to validate with that, where it's like, as much as there's that free will to go off the handles and go completely opposite of like your highest timeline, those past lives that have accumulated into your soul's identity has also vibrationally set you to a degree where you won't make those choices, or there'll be things that interject in your own choices that will make it difficult for you to transcend or descend to a degree that others may have the potential to do, right? And so that in essence is destiny, and is and fated, however you want to see it, because you aren't capable. Yes, you're capable as a human being, and yes, you can maybe try and force it until you can get to the lowest degree of which you can potentially get. But it's like, even like they're kind of showing, I don't really want to get too much into it, but I think that that's explained enough. I've already explained enough with that. And I'm also seeing because ever since I did videos on her, she and like a couple other people I can see how they've become like hallmarks of examples, right, to connect with these things. And so they're bringing up Trisha Paytas and how she vibrates a very low vibration. She's very, very low vibrational. She resonates at probably like the middle high tier of hell, in the sense of like where she's resonating. So when she crosses over and she continues her path, she will continue to descend. And so it's this idea of like looking at her, and there are these positive things that come to fruition through her existing, right? So it's not for nothing. Like her existing is not for nothing just because she's of a lower demonic force, right? And so it's also like I'm seeing this thing of like seeing yourself realistically, like realistically looking at yourself. And when you do that, this is where someone that this, I guess you would connect this with, like maybe you watch her, or you've watched this videos about her or something, and it's like this feeling of kind of looking at yourself poorly, looking at yourself lowly, but there's this essence of, because they're connecting it to her, and then they're connecting me to the Bible, and they're showing, like, it's not about comparison in the sense of you comparing yourself and putting yourself on a pedestal or putting yourself in a certain light, as opposed to another person looking at it in a judgmental, harsh, negative way, right, towards another person. It's having examples, just like they show in the Bible, of moral and immoral and just and unjust, and how that reflects in society, and how that looks for like the progression of self or the progression of society and things like that. And so there's this feeling of like really connecting to it in that way, rather than like don't avoid doing something like that if that's going to help you, because that in alone of you wanting to prevent yourself or stop yourself from doing that because you feel that it may be in a judgmental or harsh or negative or mean way, and only really wanting to focus on yourself, then there's this feeling of looking at the calibers. You have to also identify calibers, because just as you can look at someone like Harriet Tubman, or you can look at someone like Frederick Douglass, or you can look at someone, you know, like all of these enlightened or strong, empowered individuals, right? You can look at the way that they calibrate, the way that they well, I was going to say caliber. I said calibrate, but I guess vibrationally where they're at, right? So that gives you some sort of idea there, I guess. So, animal guardian, trust your instincts. Trust your instincts, but also there's look at this doe, and then the monarch earrings that I have here, and I feel like this is this panther is smelling her. It's sniffing her in an affectionate way, and there's this feeling of familiarity. And I looked up, and I actually have a monarch wing. I think I talked about this before. I have a monarch wing and then some other wing, and I normally don't keep insect or like bones and stuff like that. I mean, teeth. I keep teeth. Shark teeth I keep. I was gonna make a joke, but anyway, I don't put them in my mouth, but I actually have put them in my mouth. But anyway, so but these two wings, I felt really compelled, like connected to them for some reason. And the monarch wing, I actually had a dream of it the night before I found it. So I had a dream of the monarch wing, and it was like floating, and I saw it, and then I saw where it landed, and then the next day I went for a walk, and then I found it, and I was like, oh, that's very strange, right? But the reason, and so I looked up, and I actually have the jar, the little container that has the wings, and they're connecting it. It's one of those little bodies, I think, like the strawberry jam jars, or I don't know what jam it was, but the reason, because strawberry might be significant here, or like the strawberry flower might be significant here, but they're connecting it here because there's this again, this pattern that I'm getting of like this reverence from Mother Nature, this connection to Mother Nature, this feeling like respect given to you because you've given respect. Goodwill coming to you because you've given goodwill. Good karma coming to you because you've been giving good karma. It's like, if you're waiting for something good to happen because you've done so many good things, and then when I say that, it's like, it goes back to my other videos where it's like, you're not expecting something good because you've done something good, right? You're doing it simply because you are a good person. But it's this feeling of like, when do I get it? Like, when do I get something good happen to me or something like that? It's like, when does that happen for me, of the things that I've like expressed to other people, or the things that I've done for other people? Like, do I ever get a break? Do I ever get that kind of stuff? Do I get that return to me? It's like, yes, you do. You're about to get it. Like, that is coming to you. That harvest is coming to you. And I'm just saying, like, this like abundant harvest, right? Is even with this, you know. And I'm seeing, maybe this is carnelian or something, but I'm seeing the crow holding this, but it's in the form of a berry, like a red berry, and it's this feeling of like, you plant the tree, right? You plant the tree for the berry. But it's not like one berry. You're not there for the one berry. The entire tree, like, imagine it's this huge, like a little mulberry tree, right? Like, they can get really big. And there's tons of mulberries. And not just the berry, but the little seeds, like the little, I don't know what they're called right now, but like each little pod on it. Like, each little pod, you see how like it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. It's like, yes, you're not just gonna get the one berry off of this tree, you know. Like, you need to see it as like the huge harvest. Of course you're gonna get that. And then and also be mindful and be aware that as you continue to harvest this, the more that those seeds, right? So when I talk about the mulberry, how each little pod has a seed in it, has many seeds in a mulberry, that when that drops, it continues to grow many, many more trees. So it's this continual pattern. And then they're wiping back to the person who had crossed over that is connected to this. And then they're connecting it to like past me, okay? And hold on, they're saying don't go too far. Okay, so where? Okay, never mind. Let's just go for here, and then we'll see. Oh my gosh, I love when these two come out together, because this is her. That's how I always see it. It probably is her, right? The animal guardian and her, like, they're the same people to me. Set your sights higher, release the old and rest. Dream and journey, stay rooted and grounded. And there's that guardian angel again, Raphael, Archangel Raphael, coming through once again, very potently. There's a crow coming through again. There's another animal coming through again, of trusting your instincts, right? Trust your talents in changing times. Trust your instincts. I mean, your instinct is telling you that you are of the light, right? Like, be the light, harness mystic powers, be brave and honest. And I see this, I don't know what they mean by this. I guess I could look at the deck stuff, but this is like Jesus to me. There's actually, I think there's one in here that is Jesus, or supposed to be Jesus. But I also see this as this knight as being Jesus. You know, you're not alone. Let me flip this around so I can look at these. Yeah, it's kind of like this feeling of like, well, am I enough, or did I do enough? It's this feeling of concern for some reason, of if I didn't, and I saw the number 4, so 4 might be significant here. It's this feeling of like, did I do enough? Have I done enough? And then I'm also seeing, like, this seems kind of weird, right? Like, why is this growing out of the owl's head? These little horn things, like sticks, but it's supposed to be antlers. And it's this feeling like, I don't know, it's kind of like this feeling of confusion that I get, but it's not necessarily like confusion, because things are happening, like things, it's this feeling like, okay, so this is kind of like, this is an example that I'm saying, is like someone being like, trying to talk to spirit, trying to meditate, trying to get some information, and then feeling like they're not really getting anything, or feeling like it's not really connecting, either like ever, or like how it used to be, and not really sure how to gauge the situation, or like gauge what they're picking up on. But then it's like, it's happening in real life. Like you can even see it here. Like there's like some sort of plant here, right? And then in here, the plant is like back there, it's growing, right? So it's showing up in the physical, it's showing up, it's being represented somehow like in real life. But then it's this kind of feeling where it's maybe like so subtle, or it happens later, so then you're kind of on to the next thing. Or it's like you're overwhelmed with these thoughts of like, am I enough? Am I being honest? Am I doing just? Am I being righteous? Like all of these different questions. You know, like even when we go back to the beginning of like, you know, me and the plant, it's like, well, did I do the right thing? Did I do too much of something? Like all of these questions of like, well, you know, it's kind of like if I go back to the plant, you know, the plant situation, and I'm like, you know, looking like being down on myself, like, you know, I shouldn't have done that. Like maybe I'm just a bad gardener, maybe I'm a bad person, like I am lazy, like I knew better, but here I am doing things that I know I shouldn't do. I'm probably just bad. Like you know, it's like I knew that I was gonna hurt something, and this is terrible. And like imagine like what it's gonna do to the water table. Imagine what it's gonna do in the like all of these things that like I could just go on and on and on and on about, right? And so it's this feeling of like, don't curtail your thoughts into those kinds of things, because that's just, it's a waste of energy, it's incorrect, and like it's unproductive. And again, you want to focus on who have you become, who are you now, right? To become. Hold on, sorry. Yahoo! Hold on, I have to be quiet because he's gonna see me. I didn't know he was gonna come all the way up here though. That's very interesting. Yeah! Okay, sorry. So, okay. Anyway, I order salmon. Alaskan salmon. And so it got delivered, so it's here. Yay! Maybe that's a sign for you guys, I don't know. But anyway, moving on. Maybe, is it a sign? Is it a sign? Is it a sign? I think it is, actually. But so, because it's this feeling of like protection, right? Like that guy, okay, I'm honestly like that salmon's very expensive, okay? So he's trusting his instincts, right? Like I get, not to late, I don't know, but some of the deliveries I get are relatively expensive, but it just depends on who drops it off, of like how they do it, especially if it doesn't need a signature. And what I'm getting here is he's trusting his instinct and is protecting himself, right, and his job, because that might fall on him if that doesn't get delivered to me, right, in a proper form, right, or if it gets taken, right? So he's taken the extra steps to ensure that. And what I'm seeing here is that right here, your sword of protection is trusting in your abilities, right? This isn't just trusting your instincts or trusting yourself, even though an instinct it's inherent in you, but there's this feeling of like your gifts, and it's not just the gift of instinct, okay? There's something about the purity, right? That strength and that belief in self or something greater than self. And that is your sword. That is your protection. That's your, it's not just you on the offense, but it's also the defense, right? I'm seeing it also as this cage. What is this called? You know, that they wear the caged suits. I'm seeing that being represented as the sword as well, right? Because it's like the more that I understand myself, or I understand this higher source, and I understand my connection to the source, and that I am of the light, I am of good intention, and I am good of this like ability, this strong ability to do what's just and what's right, and to vibrate at this higher frequency, and to maintain this higher resonance, then that is also helping me armor myself against what I know can be like a counterattack, right? And it's this feeling, and when I say that, it comes back to Trisha example of someone who, and you see this, like she's a good example, because there's many people like this in real life, right? I don't know what she's up to now, but when I did the readings on her, you know, it's like this person who presents themselves in one way, right? But it's a farce, it's a complete lie. And that can cause a lot of confusion for someone who may be naive, or who is going through they have a broken energy or a low energy, and so they're seeking out what is of purity, but they can't necessarily identify or resonate with that necessarily, because they're at such a low vibration, so they're being misguided. So it's this feeling of you knowing that those who are misguided themselves and representing themselves as this, like here's a little bit of a better example, is like narcissism and all of this. It's like, you know, these people who say, you know, it's like love bombing and all this. Well, they're copying or they're emulating what they believe are good people, right? And so since there are sincere good people who will be perceived as love bombers, or they might be perceived as someone who is doing it for some ulterior motive, like being a good person for an ulterior motive. Like they exist, right? And there are a lot of people who won't understand that energy because they are themselves not doing that, right? Or they themselves are surrounded by narcissists, right? So it's like someone who would be following a similar person in their life, or even online, as Trisha Paytas said, then seeing you, who is the same thing, but you carry a different vibration, right? And so you can armor yourself against essentially a counterattack of those insincere people or insincerities by understanding the truth of you, right? And so I'm getting all of this, and then even with the guy, bringing it back up with the guy who just dropped off my fish, is this feeling like he's trusting himself, right? He's like, you know what? I need to protect myself. I need to do this, and he's taking those extra measures to do that, right? It's like doing it right the first time, right? And so it's this feeling like he's what is it called? Not just noble, but what is it called when people of high, like, integrity, like he can leave this place, this residence, because he acted in integrity, right? He did things knowing he didn't just toss it somewhere, like into the bushes or something, and like run off, right? That kind of thing, right? Because there are people who do that, even though they're supposed to follow a certain protocol, they don't. I've experienced it myself, and so it's this. It's just this feeling here of like, don't discount yourself just because you're not seeing the fruits of your labor quite in the way that you want. I mean, it's okay to want those things. That doesn't make you a bad person to want those things, essentially. And it is coming, you know, and maybe that's also part of this, where it's like, well, I am seeing it, but it's like sparse in comparison to what I have the capacity to perceive or to give. And that's very rare, to be honest. Like, it's very rare and it's very special, and not in reality, I do want to say, not everyone's going to, in this life, get what they give out, right? People are not machines. It doesn't work that way, right? Like, some people get, from perception, some people will get more than what they give out, right? And when you look at like a Trisha Paytas example, she's not getting anything of substance, unfortunately, right? It's all, again, hellish things, right? Temporary things that don't satiate the soul, things that don't grow the soul, things that don't connect humanity, things that don't enlighten others. It's a deterrent, right? It's a mass suppression and lowering. And so continue to see those lights, continue to see the bigger picture of this, because what is returned to you is much greater than anything that could be in this limited world, right? What you receive is limitless, and the fact that you aren't focused on what you are receiving is very noble in itself. And at the same time, you don't have to punish yourself or look down on yourself and feel that there is an insincerity of want and of wishing and desiring. Like, you can ask for those things, but at the end of the day, you know that you recognize that it's something deeper than that, right? And there is that confirmation here that you are going to get those things, right? And look, he has this little berry. It's black in here because it matches what she's wearing. But look, this is a stone, right? Carnelian stone, like the red berry. I mean, that's kind of like mulberries also. Maybe mulberry might be a sign here. Maybe a spiritual meaning of mulberry for someone. But you see, it's this continued care for you and compassion for you, right? These crows are so wise and so and protective, right? And she's used it. What I'm seeing is she's using this as dye. Like, she's dyed her outfit. She dyes her hair. This whole background is representative of this particular dye, right? It could be indigo. But it's and then even her eyes, these match. Everything matches here, right? And so it's just this repetition, this feeling like, and even here they're showing it in his cage. Like, you're not wrong or like shallow to want to have a fun life, or to have a what you might see as a good life. You know, even when you recognize the spiritual aspects of things, it's like, well, I still want to enjoy, like, I'm here to enjoy this life, right? I'm here to like do things that I want to do, and to have that feeling of freedom to do these things, right? And it's this feeling like there's this feeling of like harshness. It bring me back to Harriet Tubman. She like a harsh life, but even at the end of her life, like, she enjoyed like fine china, I guess. She enjoyed like finer things. I don't know if it was necessarily fine china, but I know she liked really like the blue and white type of china, you know, and she was granted like her own space, like, you know, home and yard and all that. And she would read the Bible. She would sit down and she would read the Bible. And so it's this feeling like, well, there is balance. There is balance. And no, you aren't meant to live an extremely disruptive and harsh kind of life. Those things that you desire and you want are going to come to you. That's not something that you should feel afraid of not coming to fruition for you. So the advice that I'm getting here is to stand strong. Stand strong and be honest, like, speak your truth. Speak out and speak proudly of who you are, what you believe in, or what it is that you even desire, right? So when you look at who you've become, right, that future you who exists now, then what does that person, like, how, like, are they afraid to speak out? Are they afraid to demand what it is that they want? Are they, like, who is that person, right? And be that now. It's like this feeling of protect yourself, like protecting yourself now, and all that you have ever been. Okay, so this is where they're, when they told me to slow down, like, they're bringing it back around to say, which is like, look at yourself as, if you've ever been able to do that, like who you've been lifetimes ago, right? Or if you believe in that, you know, at least just, even if you don't know, you don't have any recollection of who you've been, it doesn't really matter. Think about who you've been as a child. If you have any memories of you as a child, that person is you now, right? Like, that person as a child could have potentially perceived themselves as an adult, right? Like, and here you are now at the age of which you may have perceived yourself, you know, at some point, if you thought to do that kind of thing. And so just looking at yourself as a collection, it's like this collection of consciousness, and how it's stretched out into this linear fashion, then protect that future you by not just emulating, but embodying future you, right? Like future you is depending on current you to show up and get it done and be like do the work and be who you're destined to be, because you've focused on that. That's the focus of attention. That's what I was gonna say here too, is like when I'm talking about like looking down, oh, I could have done things, all these whatever with the plant, it's like, don't focus on that, because that's putting your attention to a lower vibration that's not productive at all, right? Look at the way that you can be productive in this, learn from this, and practice, right? That's also strengthening that resilience in you, that you're not gonna fall down from something that you can easily fix. And I'm seeing these two individuals as yourself, and this individual feeling these words of uncertainty, distrust, and guarded. And this person is holding earth. That's how I'm saying, is they're holding earth, they're holding the world, they're holding you, like put it in perspective. That's what your guides are really trying to like hone in, is like literally put this in perspective. You're existing right now on earth, like freaking crazy, like you're here right freaking now. Like put that in perspective. Like what can you do right now to just impact the world and beyond the world, right? And they're showing, like zoomed out, they're showing like all of these different galaxies and suns, like upon suns upon suns upon galaxies, like trillions, like things, many that we don't even know exist, right? And here you are right now existing, just as so many others are existing currently, not just on earth, but everything that it just is of I don't know the word what I'm looking for, like not boundaries, but it's like, you know, sometimes when I see boundaries, I see it like it turns into material, right? Into material right now. Merge yourself, spirit into body, merge, like really believe in yourself, really. Okay, one more, actually two more. I'm gonna get this. Be devoted and committed. Continue to be devoted and committed. Of course that would fall out. Well, now I know I have to shuffle over here. Okay. I'm glad that one just went that way. Okay. The heart is the true seat of power, so just love everyone involved and all will unfold gracefully in its own time. An angel watches over you with patience, love, and perseverance. All will work out fine. Be guided by the wisdom in your heart. You may not be aware of it yet, but a tapestry full of positive outcomes and spiritual blessings now permeates your aura. The gray clouds have lifted, replaced by a soft, radiant light. The past will soon be behind you. Let it go and embrace the positive times ahead. And I do want to focus on this first paragraph, this first sentence. Okay, it's not really a paragraph, I guess, but first sentence. And I'll repeat it, but I want you to like screenshot or pause it and really just meditate on this and envision this and understand exactly what they're telling you in this, which is, you may not be aware of it yet, but a tapestry full of positive outcomes and spiritual blessings now permeates your aura. It's permeating your aura. It's manifested in your material world. It's happening, meaning it's happened, right? Just like future you, as you focus on that, is here, right? That's existed, but you've already put the work in. You're already resonating at a certain frequency, that there are some things, these positive things, that have already started tumbling in. The energy has already started tumbling in. The karma has already started tumbling in. You reap what you sow, and what you've sown is good. I think that's important because I'm seeing this. See, it's right here. So if that feels significant to you, I would look into the spiritual meaning of carnelian as well. Okay, so that's my reading, and I will talk to you guys later. If you want another card, here's the last one I felt compelled to pull. You are looking at a situation from a purely physical perspective, and therefore you cannot see the bigger picture and the blessings interwoven within this event. We, your angels, urge you to trust, for all will work out in the best way possible. Let go of your fear and apprehension, and allow God's healing energy to flow to you. Trust, for all will heal in ways you never thought possible. Okie dokie. Bye.